The bar was alive that Friday night, country music playing, mugs clinking, people laughing. In the corner, a group of bikers rolled in, their leather jackets and booming voices drawing every eye. Among them was Jack, the biggest of the bunch. His rough exterior made folks whisper, but what happened next silenced the room in a way no one could have expected. Sarah, the young waitress, was weaving between tables, balancing a tray of beers. Jack, half joking and half showing off, reached out and tugged at her sleeve. But his strength was too much. In one swift motion, the fabric tore. Gasps filled the bar. Sarah froze in place, mortified, clutching the ripped shirt against her chest. The music stopped. Everyone stared. For a moment, it seemed like Jack had just humiliated her in front of the whole town. But then, the rip revealed something no one expected. Beneath her shirt was a faded medical patch taped across her chest, a scar running beneath it. The kind no young woman should have to carry. Her hands shook as tears welled up in her eyes. She had fought so hard to keep it hidden. The rowdy bar grew still. Jack's grin vanished. His hand trembled. And in that heavy silence, something shifted, not just in him, but in everyone watching. What he saw wasn't weakness. It was survival. And it froze the whole bar. No one moved. The jukebox hummed in the background, but even the machine seemed hesitant to play. Sarah's face burned as she tried to hold her shirt together, but her trembling hands made it harder. Jack, towering, tattooed, feared, looked down at what he'd done. For the first time in years, he felt small. I didn't mean, his voice cracked, words that seemed foreign in his rough tone. Sarah stepped back, her chest heaving. The scar told a story she'd never wanted the town to see. Months earlier, she had survived open-heart surgery after collapsing at her second job. A waitress, a caregiver to her younger brother, she never spoke of it. She covered the scar, smiled through the pain, and kept serving coffee and beers with the same kindness as before. Now, her secret was out, ripped open by a careless tug. The bar patrons exchanged uneasy glances. Some whispered, others bowed their heads, ashamed of the laughter they'd once shared at her expense when she struggled to lift heavy trays. Jack swallowed hard. Something inside him stirred. He thought of his own sister, lost years ago, and how he never got to protect her. With a deep breath, he shrugged off his leather jacket. Without a word, he draped it gently over Sarah's shoulders, covering the torn shirt and the scar. That single act, unexpected, tender, and almost clumsy, shifted the room. The biker everyone feared had just shown a side no one believed existed. But this was only the beginning of what the bar, and Sarah, were about to learn. The bar stayed frozen, every eye fixed on Sarah and Jack. She clutched his leather jacket around her shoulders, the heavy weight oddly comforting. Her lips parted as if to speak, but no words came. It was the crowd that broke first. An older man near the counter whispered, "My boy had a scar like that, same surgery." A woman nodded, her hand pressed over her heart. Suddenly, Sarah wasn't just a waitress anymore, she was a mirror of survival that many quietly understood. Jack cleared his throat, his usual booming voice gone. "I didn't know," he muttered, his head lowered. "Didn't know what you were carrying." Sarah blinked at him, tears glistening but unshed. She wanted to be angry, to scream at the man who had exposed her pain. Yet, looking at him, she saw not mockery, but regret. Real regret. One of Jack's biker friends shifted uncomfortably, then stood up. "Drinks on us tonight, for her," he announced, slamming a wad of cash on the bar. The room erupted in cheers, not the wild drunken kind, but the warm, rallying kind that made Sarah's knees weak. She tried to step away, but Jack gently caught her wrist, not rough this time, just steady. "Don't hide it anymore," he said softly, so only she could hear. "Scars mean you fought, and you lived." The words, simple and raw, struck deeper than she expected. For months, she had carried shame heavier than any tray of beers. But here, in front of strangers and rough bikers, her scar was no longer something to conceal. And for the first time since her surgery, Sarah felt seen. The bar hadn't just gone silent, it had listened. Sarah's fingers tightened on the jacket draped around her. For months, she had walked through life pretending nothing had changed. But now, with dozens of eyes on her, something inside urged her to speak. She took a shaky breath. "I wasn't supposed to make it," she began, her voice low but steady. The bar leaned in. "Doctors said my heart, it was too weak. I worked double shifts, trying to save money for my brother's school. I thought I could push through." She paused, glancing down at the scar beneath the jacket. "But I collapsed. They had to cut me open right here, in this town's hospital. I woke up with this scar, and a pile of bills I couldn't pay." The room stayed still, the usual bar chatter gone. Even the jukebox seemed to hush in respect. Jack clenched his fists at his sides. He had lived years surrounded by rough men, fights, and regrets, yet hearing Sarah speak cracked something open inside him. He knew pain. He knew loss. But her courage, standing here half-broken and still serving others, it humbled him. An elderly woman from a corner booth whispered, "Bless your heart, child." Another regular called out, "You kept serving us, even when you were hurting. That takes guts." Sarah's lips trembled into a small smile. For the first time, the weight she carried felt lighter, not because it vanished, but because others finally saw it. Jack stepped forward. "You ain't alone anymore," he said firmly, his voice echoing in the quiet room. And for the first time in years, Sarah believed it. The bar wasn't just a bar that night, it became a circle of strangers turned family. The room seemed to exhale all at once, like the weight of Sarah's confession had settled on every heart. For a moment, it wasn't about bikers, waitresses, or regulars, it was about being human. Jack turned toward the crowd, his rough voice steady. "She's been carrying this on her own. Not anymore. We got her back." The words carried more power than a toast. Heads nodded, voices rose, and suddenly, the bar was alive again, but not with laughter at someone's expense. With support. With unity. The bartender, usually gruff and impatient, slid a jar across the counter. "Tip jar," he said simply. "Tonight, it's for Sarah." Coins clinked, bills folded, and soon strangers were lining up, giving not out of pity, but out of gratitude, for the girl who had served them with kindness long before they knew her struggle. Sarah's eyes brimmed with tears she no longer fought to hide. She looked at Jack, the man who had exposed her scar, and felt no anger now. Instead, she saw the brokenness in him too, softened by a chance to make something right. "Thank you," she whispered, voice cracking. Jack only nodded. "No, thank you, for reminding me what strength looks like." As the night went on, the bar didn't return to its old rhythm. It became something better, laughter mixed with stories, strangers sharing burdens they'd kept hidden too. And Sarah? She walked out that night not just with money in her pocket, but with something far more valuable, acceptance. Her scar no longer felt like a mark of shame, but a badge of survival. Sometimes, it takes the unlikeliest moment, the rip of a shirt, the silence of a crowd, for hearts to open. And when they do, kindness always wins.